How's everybody doing?
Hello, Mayor.
How are you, Danielle?
I'm well. I've been having a conversation with Mike Stevenson. We've got him here to say the prayer.
Yeah, I see that. We'll have
How
to
you
be
doing,
on our best behavior.
Yeah.
Okay.
Greg, why is your lighting so good? Mine's terrible today.
Mine is too, and I tried to turn it on and it just reflected off my screen. So you and I are in the dark, Michelle.
That's okay.
Those are some of the finer points and difficulties of Zoom, huh?
If I would have known that, I wouldn't have put on any makeup.
Let's see. How are we doing on council members? I see we've got a quorum. Do we have Jimmy?
Jimmy, I don't see he's on yet, but everyone else is.
Oh, Jimmy's late? Huh.
Shocking.
He's gonna get us. Okay. Do we have General Burton on with us yet? There's a couple phone numbers I see that I don't know for sure. You haven't heard anything from him, have you, Brian?
No, Mayor, I don't.
Let's unmute everybody for a second, whoever's hosting today, and just see if General Burton is on. General Burton, if you're on, would you let me know?
Honey, can you record it?
Which one's the mayor, John Pike?
Yes.
$26 million just last week in unemployment benefits, but with that unemployment comes a warning.
Let's just, General Burton, let me ask again, is General Jeff Burton on the call? Not hearing him. Let's go ahead, whoever's doing it, and mute everyone again except the city council.
Hey, Mayor, unfortunately, there is an option to do that, so everyone will need to unmute themselves that's on the city council.
Okay, that's fine. So let's mute everybody, and then council and Adam, you can unmute yourselves. And what we'll do is we'll get started. Adam and Brian, will the two of you just kind of be watching, see if you see General Burton show up on the line, and we'll ask again in a minute. I'm not. Okay, folks, we'll get started. This is St. George City Council regular meeting for this day, May 7th, 2020. This is a Zoom meeting, a digital meeting in what's the word? In conjunction with the authority that the governor's given to cities to operate during this state of emergency, so that we can do this remotely. No city council members actually, nor I am in the city council chambers, but we've got several of us in offices at City Hall and most of us in offices at home. So we were glad to be able to do this. I think I'll ask Adam before we get started here officially. I believe we're going to try to do our work meeting next week in person. Is that right, Adam?
Hey, if you guys are ready for it, we're ready for it.
I'm ready.
Way ready.
So
All right, we'll
do that. We'll need to make sure we'll be talking budget, folks, next week. There could be other things, but the key focus would be, reviewing the budget. It'll be presented just generally tonight. And then we'll get into some of the details. So that would be a 4:00 meeting. We'll do it here. And we'll just need to make sure, of course, Adam, that we have the capacity to socially distance. If there's some public or even staff that are here, we'll have to kind of just stagger so that we're meeting those rules, correct, Adam?
That's right.
Okay, let's get started then. We have with us Michael Stevenson with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, who is going to offer an invocation. He's also representing the St. George area Interfaith Council. We appreciate you being here, Mike, to do that. And after that, we'll rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance. But let's have Mike Stevenson pray for us.
Our kind and eternal Father in heaven, we come before thee this day and give thee thanks for the many bounties of life which we have. We invoke thy spirit to be with us, that we can withstand this coronavirus, that thy kind and protecting care will be upon this nation, that we may be able to get back to things as they should be, and that the economy will strengthen. I ask a special blessing upon the city council members, that they will be blessed and inspired to see the things that they need to do to help the city. And please bless the citizens of this great city, that they will be mindful of each other and to follow the directives that we have been given. Again, we ask for thy spirit to be with us this day, we pray. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mike. We appreciate you being here, and you can stay as long as you want or leave as soon as you want. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
You bet.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay, let's rise and say the pledge. I'll lead us. I've got a flag in my office, so I'll lead us. Here we go. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Two and amen, I think, right? My tie's bugging me. All right, let's see. Have you noticed anyone yet joining us from a new number? I'm not seeing one.
No, and Mayor, I missed it. You may have said this at the beginning of the meeting. Was Councilmember Hughes going to be able to join us tonight?
As far as I knew, I did ask
Okay.
if he was on, but I'm not seeing him. Adam, will you text him? And
He went to the ranch this morning, but he is back. Because I just talked to Tony just a little bit ago. So he's home. So text him and tell him to get on.
okay.
I just text General Burton and we'll see if he replies.
Okay, very good. I'll do a quick look and just make sure I didn't get an email back from him, and then we'll proceed. We're hoping that we might have General Jeff Burton from the State Health Department on our meeting here tonight, as some of you know. So let's see. No, I don't have anything from him, so we'll proceed and we'll just kind of keep watching. Adam,
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
He said he's on, but muted at your end.
Okay, yes. So let's see, I wonder if that's his number kind of at the end of things there. Let's just see. General Burton?
That's me. Hey, thanks, Mayor. Yeah, I'm on.
Sweet. Thank you so much for joining us, General.
Oh, my pleasure.
We would just love to turn some time over to you. This is specifically, we actually did an addendum to our meeting, specifically so we could talk about COVID-19, but really we were hopeful that you'd be able to join us and just give us a little bit of perspective from your vantage point as it relates to the Utah, plan and some of the decisions that are made from your office and the governor's office. And so anyway, take it away. And then we might, the council may have a question or two for you, but certainly we'll be respectful of your time and come and go whenever you need to, General.
Okay, hey, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, this is an interesting time for me as well. I mean, none of us have gone through anything like this. Unless you were alive in 1918 and went through the Spanish flu, this is like nothing we've ever experienced as public officials. And so I can clearly understand the pressure that everyone's under, and I don't take that lightly. I believe that, you know, government's job is to provide for the safety and security of their people. And so we don't take this lightly either, this responsibility, while at the same time, we're very cognizant of the pain economically that this is causing, and the businesses that are lost, and the people that are suffering. So these are weighty matters and tough decisions to make on a regular basis. We wanted clear metrics that could be validated by data points, as opposed to decision making based on emotion, which is never a good idea, because we all feel emotion, and we all have people tugging at us. You folks probably get phone calls on a regular basis about everything from when does Little League start, to why can't my daughter take driver's ed, to why can't I eat at my favorite restaurant. So all of this stuff, it weighs heavy, and we're striving to do the very best that we can. We believe that the Utah Leads 2.0 plan is really superior to anything out there. We had that plan before the federal government put their plan into play, and we have a lot more confidence in our plan. It focuses mainly, folks, on hospital utilization, because it comes down to that. What we were trying to avoid from the very beginning was to overwhelm our hospital system, much like you saw in New York. It was unbelievable how that system was overwhelmed, and we haven't even gotten near to that. We were always healthy with regard to numbers of ventilators. We didn't need to go begging the federal government and or other states. And to date, we haven't needed any significant number of ventilators out there. So Utah is the 5th lowest state in the nation for cases. We have absolutely one of the lowest death rates in the nation. We're in the single digits, probably in the top, definitely in the top 5, maybe around 5. So right now, it's a 0.97% death rate in Utah. Less than 1% of those that are tested are perishing from the disease. And so that is probably relative to the fact that we've got a younger population, we've got a healthier population, and that's great news. We've also been in the top 10. Last week we were number 2 in the nation for testing. So we're doing a lot of testing, and our death rate is low. Our incident rate is low. In fact, statewide, if you take the COVID test, only 4.7% of all those who take it are showing the virus in the system. And so we're going to continue to expand testing. The plan is we're bringing the National Guard in. I don't know if you all heard that. Starting next week, we'll have 120 additional guardsmen that will set up in mobile testing teams and start focusing on long-term care facilities, because that's the population we've got to protect here. We got to protect everyone, but really that high-risk population, they're going to be at risk for the next year until there's some sort of a vaccine for the virus, similar to what you get for the flu. And until then, the folks in rest homes, the folks with extreme health conditions have got to be protected, and then those over 65. And so I apologize if there's anybody out there over 65, but you got to take good care of yourself. And so those are all the things that we are worried about. We've made it clear that counties can have different postures based on meeting the criteria for that. And I know that your county has requested a second request for going to yellow, I think as early as this weekend. And so we are poring over the data, and it looks like you qualify, but that's a decision that the governor will make. And Mayor, I know he talked to you on the phone today. I don't know what he said to you, but I can tell you that he's considering that based on the data we pulled, that you look pretty solid in Washington County. Now, bear in mind that the ICU bed issue that we track very closely, that's the entire state's population of ICU beds. And so that actually goes into your favor. If we went just on your ICU beds, it would be a little bit dicier there. But when somebody's in bad shape, you usually send them north anyway, or south to Vegas. So we understand that. So what are your questions to this point? Yes, sir.
Can I ask you one thing, first of all, about ICU beds?
Yeah.
I'm in pretty close contact with our hospital administrator, Mitch Cloward. I don't know if you've checked with them on their ability in terms of ICU beds, but I was told by him before we made this request last week that he has the ability to staff 89 ICU beds. And
wow, that's incredible.
yeah, they have 79 ventilators, and
Yeah.
they have typically 24 ICU beds general, but they've, with this, they've expanded and made it so that they could equip and deal with on this kind of a basis up to 89. A total of 332-ish hospital beds. And at the direction of Intermountain Healthcare, their senior officers, they've said to Mitch, you've got to be able to add even more than that, maybe another 80 to 100 if you needed to. But Mitch told me today.
No, that's true.
Sorry,
Mayor, I didn't track it. I think we're tracking the official number that they report, which is 24. But that's actually great news. So I'll make sure our folks know that. Yeah,
just so you know. And again, please verify that if you need to. But that's what Mitch told me a week ago. And by the way, my day job is with Select Health, and so I'm kind of part of his team when I'm there. So
okay, that part-time mayor job gets in the way.
Yeah. But anyway, I do appreciate you looking at the data. That's what we've been trying to do as well. And I just appreciate you talking with Brian yesterday, and several of us were watching your press conference as you were referring to some of these things like the help of the National Guard with testing. I mentioned to the governor today also, just as a reminder, I think you know this, but the Test Utah folks have an operation down here in addition to the hospital doing the COVID testing. And so we would certainly think we'd be in a much better place now than we were, even a month ago in terms of getting the testing necessary to identify those who may have cases.
Yeah, very good. And just so you're aware, we're going to do a pilot in your area beginning next week wherein we test asymptomatic people as well at the Test Utah site only. Some of the hospitals haven't wanted to get into that asymptomatic testing, primarily because they're focusing on getting people ready for surgeries, and they want to test their healthcare workers, and that's where their energy has been. But with the Test Utah folks, we're going to start looking at people that are concerned about going back to work, maybe because they know some of their coworkers have been sick, or businesses that maybe feel like they'd like a few of their people tested. And so just so you're aware, we're going to be allowing that in the Test Utah facility starting next week that might help you. And then I had one question before I let you all go, or took some of your questions. Just a point of clarification, and I talked to Dr. Blodgett twice today, but I didn't ask the question. I've had interaction with Kane County, with Washington County, and with Iron County, but Dr. Blodgett's area covers 5 counties. So do you gentlemen and ladies know if the request that was sent up applies to all of the counties, the Southwest region that Dr. Blodgett covers, or is it just specifically for Washington County?
General, my understanding is that it would just be those 3 counties you mentioned.
Okay, not Beaver and not Garfield.
Correct. I think even though they've had few or no cases, I think, those especially, both Garfield and Beaver counties, there are different elevations and different, it's still winter there.
But, yeah, I know.
So
okay.
I think they've been kind of wanting to hold off a little bit. That is my recollection. I think while they want to be supportive of doing that, I think they've just said, well, we're not Washington County, and we're not maybe quite ready to go to yellow. So.
And I'll verify that with Dr. Blodgett, but I didn't have the document in front of me and wanted to ask that.
That was
okay.
last I heard.
All right, I'll talk to him. So any questions of me? Anything I didn't cover? Or
yeah, council, any questions for General Burton? Brian,
and hey, you can just call me Jeff. You can just call me Jeff. I'm retired from that general gig.
All right, Brian, you better have a question.
I had all mine answered yesterday.
My only question is, what kind of dirt can you give us on Brian? I mean, there's got to be something there.
That's
don't do that. Don't do that.
No, so what he does, just so you know, is like he's in a suit right now, and you're seeing him on the screen, but he's got short pants on down there that you can't see, and probably flip flops because that's Brian.
Here we go.
Yep.
Is it true?
You called
It's totally true.
You just showed us.
See, I know the guy. No, Brian Smethurst is one of the finest guys I know, and you guys are smart that you elected him. He's gonna serve with all his heart. He's got a big heart, so
Sure
use him.
Brian, those weren't boxer shorts, were they?
You'll never know. You're lucky they were shorts.
Thanks. I just want to thank you all again. I know you got a lot of pressure on you, and we feel it up here too. It's just the nature of the beast. Half of your population will be proud of the things you do, and the other half will be angry. And that's just the nature of public service. So thanks for serving and stepping up, all of you. And just have me on speed dial. I'm the kind of guy that wants to help any way I can. If you need me, if you got heat on you, call me and I help you if I can. And by the way, we'll have an answer to you tomorrow, first thing. We'll get that answer out.
Thank you. And the governor did talk about that a little bit, but we'll wait for an official answer just to make sure that you've all been able to dot your I's and cross your T's. Thank you, General Burton.
Okay, very good. Thank you, everybody.
Okay.
See you later.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Jimmy, welcome. I hope you heard some of that. He didn't hear any of it. Did you see Brian's shorts? Okay, he saw the shorts. We're gonna unmute Jimmy if we can figure that out. Oh, there you go.
Now I can. It wouldn't let me unmute myself.
Okay.
Is it something on my end, or is it technology's end that when you're talking, you're huge on the screen?
It has moved to that. I'm not sure if that's an automatic thing, but
okay,
it's been
Move
moving.
the corner and put it on everybody.
Yeah, that's what I did too.
On my screen, it just has a big picture of me, and I've blown it up as big as I can.
of course you do.
Go to the upper right hand. Go to the upper right hand of the screen, and it should have a bunch of
Gallery view. Okay, got it. Thanks.
Okay. All right. Adam, there have been a couple changes to the agenda. Would you tell us what those are?
Yeah, we've got an addendum, and we're kind of already in that item on the addendum. It's the discussion and update regarding COVID-19 response. So there's a few more things that I'd like to discuss with the council before we move off of that one. But when we get to the regular agenda, items number 7 and 12 have been removed at the request of the applicant. And I'll have John and Wes correct me if that's inaccurate, but I believe the applicants in both cases have requested to have those pulled off probably for our next regular meeting.
Okay.
But other than that, yeah, we're good to go.
All right, well, go ahead and hit the other items you wanted to under the addendum COVID-19 items.
Yeah, great. Let's do that. So obviously, I think there's a lot of excitement, and I think we're ready, right? I don't know how else to put it. I think we're ready to see some additional openings and things like that. As it comes to city facilities, I wanted to give you an update and take some feedback from you. What we're planning right now is we're looking ahead and planning for reopening all city facilities. Of course, right now, everything is open. Just about all services are still available to the public, but many of our buildings are closed except by appointment only. We've kept our drive-through open at City Hall. So we're still trying to serve the public as best we can given the circumstances, but we're anxious, and I think we're ready to start getting back to having all of our employees back in the office and being able to have the public in our buildings and doing our business that way. So we've got a couple of dates that we kicked around with our executive staff today in our staff meeting. I'll give you, and let me just say these are tentative because, again, I'd like to hear your thoughts, but we're pinpointing June 1st as the latest date for which we would be fully open. But we anticipate that can start sooner. And we've looked at that Tuesday, I believe it's the 26th after Memorial Day, that would kind of constitute a soft opening, all doors unlocked, all buildings open to the public. And then by June 1st, we are fully open, ready to go. In the meantime, what we've done is we've asked department heads, and then I've got an update to all employees ready to go later this evening that will announce plans to begin transitioning back to where we need to be. And so we'll work towards that over the next 2 weeks. We've already got employees who are coming back, some that had been working from home. So we are transitioning in that direction. In support services, Mark Morrison and his staff have done a lot of work to make some adjustments to the facilities, including all the signs and the posters and the social distancing and anything that would be appropriate in that yellow phase, right? So that's kind of the overall plan. Wanted to present that to the council if you had any questions or concerns. But I think we're ready to start doing this. So any thoughts or recommendations you guys would like to give to us?
Council?
I think we're good.
Adam, I have one question. I've received a few emails from just a couple people who are, of course, concerned. I know we have people on both sides of this who are worried to ease their concerns if they want to come to the city offices. Or what kind of sanitation are we going to be providing, and what kind of things do they need to bring with themselves?
Mark, you want to address that? I know Mark and Carlos have spent a lot of time on that.
Yes. Yeah, so where are you, Mark?
I want to be where Mark's at.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry, I left the wrong backdrop on, but it's better looking than my office.
Mark, show us how you walk out of that background.
I need one
cool.
in my house.
Nice.
I like it.
Let me address that. Adam and we've been working closely with Adam on the purchase and upgrade of all the touchless amenities in our public-facing bathrooms. So towel dispensers, soap dispensers, and eventually sinks will all be touchless in our public restrooms. We're also providing hand sanitizer in all of our buildings, and most of those are touchless as well. And we'll also have one-time use wipes that you can actually open the door with and just throw away at the doors within our facilities. Some of the doors will be propped open so you don't have to touch them at all within the building, say for example, going into utilities. And as Adam mentioned, on the floor, there are decals that talk about the spacing, especially when you're waiting in line for a counter. And those will be on the ground. They're not on the ground yet, but they will be shortly. We're waiting until we get closer to that launch date. But we also, our custodial staff too, we're doing a very deep clean in facilities, in some cases, multiple times per day, where we're using fogging machines and certain chemicals to disinfect surfaces. At the airport, we're doing after every flight, we're going in and using that machine. It's been very effective, and we have 6 of those machines citywide that we're using. The list goes on and on of different things we're doing. We're basically using disinfecting best practices, throughout the custodial industry in all of our buildings, and all of our surfaces getting wiped down, in some cases multiple times per day. At the rec center, those employees are wiping down the surfaces on a very regular basis. Obviously, golf courses we've talked about in the past, and they're doing a good job there. But you can be assured that we're implementing all of the best practices for keeping surfaces as clean as possible, including providing towels for people to open and close doors with.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Also, did you mention this, Mark, but even in City Hall, there's a plexiglass shield at the reception desk. Did you mention that?
I did not, Maren. Thank you for reminding me. Our Parks Division has been incredible in building these custom shields in front of all of our counters, from the golf courses to the rec center to those here at City Hall and beyond. And so those are in place and really trying to minimize air droplets, between people. So we appreciate those, and those are in place right now, even though there's no public coming through the building.
Thank you. Appreciate those efforts. We do want to give people the confidence when they come to our facilities, or and hopefully to other businesses, that they're taking precautions. So, what else, Adam, on that?
The only other thing I would mention is just a little bit of our conversation, or a lot of conversations we've had over the past month and a half about operations and how we interact with people and our availability. We just are so much more accessible now. A lot of lessons learned that I think are going to be good going forward, where many of our meetings can be done online, virtually, things like that. And so we intend to continue to offer this to our customers if that's something they prefer. We know we can do it now, and we're pros at it. So we'll continue to have that be available, and I think it's going to work well. So we're ready, and I see a transition here over the next couple of weeks, and then that Tuesday after Memorial Day, we should pretty much be fully staffed here, and then in that soft opening, and then June 1st, we make sure that everybody knows, come inside, we're ready, we can help you.
Thanks, Adam. I don't know how much all of us know, but there's a significant number of city employees that are working from home. Correct, Adam? I mean, it's significant. So I think this has been good for us, at least on that angle, to learn some of those lessons, as Adam just said. And so our IT folks have actually gotten ready in the council chambers with some various cables and connections and so forth, so that when people come back, they can, if they need to, they can get new ones. And we had some people who probably ended up with new laptops or borrowed laptops, and now they're coming back and hooking up to their in their office or their cubicle for the first time, or whatever, reconnecting. So appreciate the IT folks getting ready for bringing people back on.
Yeah, they're doing a great job.
Yeah. Might just also mention, everybody, that I believe the plan is that tomorrow morning, the 6 pickleball courts at Vernon Worthen that have been completely redone, as you know, they will be open, it sounds like, tomorrow morning. They were just doing a few final things today as I went by there. Had to fix a couple of things that were, I think the posts for the nets were for tennis courts, not pickleball. So they had to take them out, cut them, and then put them back in. Our guys are so awesome. I think you've all noticed that. I've seen some fun texts from several council members and about how awesome all of our teams are. Seriously, they're just amazing. I'm thrilled to see the speed at which they get things done, especially these days. Our parks people and trails issues and our facilities but everybody, streets, legal. We've had a lot of stuff going on in every department. They've just been jumping to it. So Adam, please help us pass along those thank yous to all of our departments.
Will do.
Okay. Council, any other questions or comments regarding the COVID-19 things? I think I would anticipate, Council, I frankly would anticipate that the governor will probably move us to yellow by tomorrow night. That would be my anticipation. It's not a done deal yet, but he did call me and go over a couple of things with me about an hour ago. And so I appreciated that. And along with General Burton, I can't call him Jeff, Brian, but along with General Burton, they really have said, hey, reach out to us more often. Let us know how we might be able to, tweak some things. And so we'll try that. They are still concerned, as I think we all know, but I think they are genuinely trying to respond to our regional request. They're getting others, by the way, too, from other parts of the state. So let's watch for that, and Council will certainly let you know the minute that we hear a final answer on that. They did want to double check a few things and just make sure everybody was comfortable with this from the healthcare end and the public health end. So seeing no other comments on that, we'll move to item 1 on the agenda, which is comments from the public. So what I'm going to ask anyone who may be here with a comment that is not related to a specific item on our agenda today, if you would go to the middle of the screen, lower end of the lower middle screen where the chat box is, and if you have a comment, if you would simply make a comment in that just to say you would like to speak, and then we will unmute you if you'll just tell us your name in that chat box. So I'm going to monitor that for just a second. Again, right in the middle, lower end of the screen, take your cursor there and you'll see chat and a little window open up. Click on that, type your name and that you would like to speak, and we'll call on you and unmute you. I'll wait just a minute. I'm not seeing any pop up there. So I think what we'll do is we'll move on, and Adam, we'll have you take us to item 2, which I believe is the consent calendar.
It is. Council, any items that you'd like to pull off the consent calendar or anything you have any questions on for these 5 items?
I'd make
Okay.
a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
Motion was made by Michelle to approve the consent calendar. Brian seconds. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, starting with Jimmy, say aye. Hang on, there we go. Michelle,
Aye.
Danielle,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
Brian.
Aye.
That's 5. Okay, that passes unanimously. Item 3.
Mayor, quickly on items B and C on the consent calendar, I just wanted to mention, because I think it's really good, is typically when we're doing projects out at the airport, or I should say many times the FAA will cover a certain percentage, and it's often in that 90% range, and then we cover the remaining balance. Through the COVID-19 event that we're in, additional funds have been made available through the FAA, and we think that most of these projects will be 100% covered by the FAA. So that's a really good thing. Just thought it was worth mentioning.
Perfect. Thank you.
Great. So item number 3 then is a public hearing for an amended final subdivision plat in Green Valley. And we're going to have, let's see, John, do you have this one?
I'll
Turn
do
this
it.
to our planning
It's
staff.
Wes. Yeah. So this request is a proposal to consider amending the final subdivision plat for Green Valley subdivision number 5. The applicant tried to get 100% consent of the property owners that own property within this subdivision. They were not able to do that, which requires them to then bring it forward as a public hearing. So the request is to amend the plat. Basically, there used to be 2 lots right here. You saw this a while ago, and they came in and actually were able to change the general plan and so forth and get PDR on the zoning. And so now they'll do two lots here and 2 lots here. So these 2 lots become 4 lots. The easements all stay the same. They aren't creating new public utility, municipal utility easements along these lot lines here and here, as these will both be duplexes, so the easements wouldn't be required.
Any questions, council?
Wes,
Steve.
did we get any feedback from the lot owners who did not consent as to why? Did they simply not respond, or did they object to the proposal?
You know, I don't know that. My assumption is that we didn't get anybody that had any concerns with it, and that's why we put it on. Nobody brought that to my attention that we did, but I'll follow up with that.
What's the reason for the change? Just want to put some little more high density right there. Or?
Yeah, they came forward and gosh, I want to say a year or so ago, and actually changed the general plan to MDR right here. Then they changed the zoning to PD residential, plan development residential, and requested 2 duplexes to be constructed here. That's why you see it now. It's 4 lots, duplex on that lot and a duplex on this lot, which then requires them to amend the final plat and show those 4 new lots.
Is the rest of the subdivision already sold? So it's all owned privately except for those?
Yeah, they came in and the applicant came in and purchased those 2 lots right there. And that was why that required the change, or that's what precipitated the change.
Oh, okay.
Well, so what's the rest of the neighborhood? I mean, is it just single family and now we're just going to put duplexes there?
It is. The rest of the subdivision is single family. And you are going to have, there will be 2 duplexes here. And again, this went through general plan and zoning. Gosh, I want to say about a year and a half.
A long time ago.
I'll just say, I remember this from Planning Commission, and it's a really interesting spot. You'll have to drive out there and see it. I think you guys will remember what's there if you go out there. It's like, these are all older homes. And these properties right here sit down lower. It's not exactly the best building space in town. It's kind of a challenging spot to build on. So I remember we debated it a lot and ended up with this. And Wes, if I'm right, I remember quite a few of the neighbors came and ended up actually feeling pretty good about what they were doing right there, just because it was better than the alternative, which is for years, it's just been an eyesore. And it's been such a challenging space to build in. And I remember specifically the design that they had, the stuff that's behind it. So the Green Valley stuff behind it can all see over it. And even these properties, like, it doesn't impede their views. So there was a lot of debate about it, but in the end, I think that's why we ended up, and I assume obviously the council probably ended up approving it for the same reason, because it's kind of a challenging space to work with.
And I do remember seeing the final product that they presented, and it was nice.
Is this where those multifamily are behind it? To the west?
So to the west here is Green, or to the south here is the Green Valley area. This is the road.
I saw that.
I remember it now. Yep.
And this area here, as Danielle was saying, they are difficult lots. For instance, this hatched area here on these 4 lots is area that can't be disturbed because it's all hillside and so forth like that.
So they were difficult lots, and I believe that's some of the consideration that was given back when they proposed this.
Wes, thank you for explaining what the crosshatched area is, just for the benefit of those who might be joining us online. But can you tell us what's happening there along that radius in front of the lot that's labeled 14B? There's a very small area that's kind of set back away from, right in there, that little area. Is that an easement?
Yeah, they'll have to dedicate additional right of way right there. Thank you for pointing that out. Right there, they'll have to dedicate some additional right of way for the sidewalk and that. You remember the road went through there like this, and that was the dedicated road. They have now come back in, and this is now the roadway dedications here and here. Remember, this is the road that goes down to Dixie Drive. I can't remember. Anyways, so that's the new road alignment. However, the city still has that ownership of that parcel right there along the frontage of those two lots. That hasn't been vacated as right away, or it's still in the ownership of the city.
Any other questions or comments?
Just to add a comment on this, I'm pretty familiar with Canyon View Drive, so I just pulled up where Ostler Way comes in. So I'm very familiar with these lots right there. It is a hard piece to develop. It has a big upward slant grade coming up off of the street.
Yep.
It's in an area where there will be higher density homes just south of there, and then everything north of there is all those retreats and higher density there. I think it works. I think it's a good use for the land.
If you're so inclined, council, I'm ready for a motion.
Is this a public hearing?
Oh,
It is a
sorry.
public hearing, so you'd have to open that. Thank you for
You need to
catching
do that first. Thanks for reading the agenda. So I'll open the public hearing for anyone who's in attendance today virtually who'd like to comment. I don't know that there's anyone in the City Hall building today, but I'll watch for, again, the chat down at the bottom middle of the page. If you would go in there and just simply type your name and that you'd like to make a comment. This is item number 3 on our agenda today. I'll give you just another minute. And I'm seeing none at the moment. So what I will do at this time, I'll ask if the applicant is present and if there's anything they would like to say. And again, if you just make yourself known in the chat room. Scott Oakey, representing the applicant, is available for questions. Council, do you have any questions? I'm not seeing any.
Yeah, Bill.
Then I'm going to close the public hearing and I'm going to come back to you, council, for your action.
I'd make a motion, we approve the amended final subdivision plat for Green Valley subdivision number 5. Yeah.
I'll second.
Motion was made by Greg, seconded by Danielle. Any discussion? Not seeing any. So all in favor, say aye, and I'll start with Danielle.
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
Brian?
Aye.
And Jimmy?
Aye.
That motion carries unanimously. Thanks, everybody, for your recollections and clarifications. Wes, as well. Number 4.
All right, council, for item number 4, you're probably aware that we are working on a project that would extend 1450 south to the west. And that's a project that we anticipate doing sometime in the near future, if we can. As part of that project, we will need additional right-of-way. And I guess I should also add that this would be tied to the project that we're doing at that intersection to add the additional turn lanes as well from River Road onto 1450. And so as we're doing that project, we need additional right-of-way. We are in contact with the property owner. If you looked at the documentation for this, you'll see that this is property that's adjacent to Popeye's restaurant. And what we're hoping to do is that we'll be able to work this out with the property owner. This is a formality, I would call it, to assist in the process. If we had to pursue this through eminent domain, this council action would authorize staff to be able to proceed with that. But our preference and hope is that we'll be able to work this out with the property owners. So we've gotten a couple of responses from them. We will continue to negotiate with them. But for these purposes, we think it's probably a good idea to go ahead and take this step in case it becomes necessary.
Thank you, Adam.
Sean, if there's anything that you would add on that.
Thank you, Adam. What I would add is, we are always very careful to do these types of actions. And we had our representative tried many times over a couple of months' time to get them to respond, and they would not respond except for a number that was pretty high. And I don't have that number in front of me, Adam, I'm sorry. But so we finally had to take this action in order to get a response. Now, within the last day, we've had some contact with them. So obviously they realize now that we're needing this property and we have a project that's on a time frame and we need to move forward. So we're hoping to resolve this without taking any further steps.
Well, we showed that the appraisal was 66,000 and they want 150,000 for it.
That's right. So I remember it's 150, 160. So yeah, we're pretty far off.
Yeah.
How much property is it?
It's
not very much.
I read on it. I think it's right over 1,000 square feet. It's a very slim little piece in front of Popeyes.
Okay, and I just have to add this, and I know Adam's going, Sean, I know it's bugging you, but this is property that we owned before, that was done on the original project, that the property owner came after us for several years to return to them, and now we're reacquiring it.
Oh, that's smart.
Different property owner, but nevertheless, we would have owned this.
Yes.
We did own it. Okay, so
Adam, gave it back?
Yeah. Sean, on the agenda, it says this is a public meeting. Does that mean public hearing or just that we have to do this in a public meeting?
We have to do it in a public meeting.
Do we need a motion of any kind?
Yes, Mayor.
And the motion
Mayor,
is
it also says that if the owner is present, so do we need to give them a chance to speak if they're here?
Yes.
Yeah, if they are. So I'll again ask them if they are here, and if they are present on Zoom, they can go to the bottom of the screen in the center, go to the chat box and tell us your name and that you'd like to speak to this. I suspect they're not here, but we'll give it a minute. And while we're waiting just for another minute, council, so we would just simply need a motion that says that we would approve the acquisition of this property through eminent domain if needed to do this roadway and temporary easement as has been presented to us. Correct, Sean?
That's correct, Mayor.
So moved. I'm just so moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Have a motion by Michelle, second by Brian. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I still don't see anything in the chat box. So all in favor, starting with Jimmy, say aye.
Aye.
Brian?
Aye.
Danielle?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
And Michelle?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. I think this is wise to do this. So thanks, Sean and Adam, for teeing this up. 5.
Let's see. I'm looking to see if Shirlane is on.
I
see
am.
her picture there.
There she
is. Shirlane, would you like to present item number 5 for Riverwalk?
You bet I will. I don't have it pulled up right in front of me. I got to get to it. Hang on one second. This is the Riverwalk one, yes?
Correct.
Yes, for the impact.
While I'm pulling it up, I can give you the background on it. So the Riverwalk, when we did utilities and impact fees for Riverwalk, we agreed to defer their impact fees for 10 years. And as they were going through their utility plan, they realized they needed to add some additional power to their original plans. And so this agreement allows us to add that amount to the amount of those impact fees to the amount that we were going to defer. And then Adam, I'm still pulling up those I had the thing up and now it's not here, so I'm looking for it.
That's okay. Council, do you remember when we did this for Riverwalk?
I do.
Yep. And just as we've gotten into the construction on the project, the contractor and the city agreed that the service needed to be upgraded there. And so we've assumed that the council would want to extend that same accommodation for the new impact fee, but we need to hear it from you.
So it's an additional 24,481.41. Is that what it is?
We do.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
We definitely don't want them to have power problems over there.
Yeah.
Jimmy?
Yeah, you assumed right, Adam.
Was that Adam or was that, I don't know who was assuming. Anyway.
It was Greg.
Greg, yeah.
Oh. Well, I thought he said we assumed that you would want to go ahead with it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were right, Adam.
He assumed and Greg assumed, yeah. Everyone's assuming.
Good assumptions.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution authorizing assistance to the Riverwalk Affordable Housing Project in the form of additional impact fee credits.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Michelle and a very quick second by Jimmy. And I believe that amount, just to make sure it's correct, $24,481.41, correct?
Yes.
All right. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, starting with Michelle, say aye.
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
Danielle?
Aye.
Brian?
Aye.
And Jimmy?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thanks, everybody. I think that's the right thing, and it's really what we intended to do. It's just, it's a big project. Probably just, maybe initially undersized what they thought the impacts would be on the electrical. So thank you. Number 6.
All right, council, here we go. Preliminary budget. A lot of time and effort's gone into this, and I've just got to give the biggest thanks I am capable of to Deanna Berklasich and her team, Chad Moultrie, and also Christina Fernandez. As you're aware, these are challenging times. And when we first started this process about 6 months ago, and maybe even longer, it was a totally different world, a totally different economy. And so those original plans that we came up with, they've changed a lot. And what we'd like to do tonight is have Deanna go over this with you and then have some time for Q&A. And then we'll ask for your support on a resolution to accept and adopt the preliminary fiscal year 21 budget. Before we ask Deanna to present, I've got to highlight something here, and you may have seen it in your packet. And by the way, the most recent version of the budget was just emailed out. Christina sent that at 5:07. And I think you may have had that before, but right at the beginning of that document, there's an announcement about an award that the city received. The Government Finance Officers Association, that's a national organization, they have awarded the city with what's called the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award. And in order to qualify for that award, you've got to do a lot of stuff to your budget. Really what that award is intended to do is to recognize budgets that go above and beyond in assisting the public in being able to read and interpret a budget. It can be a little intimidating to crack open a 311-page document, as Deanna will tell you, and make sense of all of those different numbers, all the different funds and accounts that we have at the city. And by presenting that budget in a way that's organized, legible, uses terms that even people like myself can understand, it's just the best way to do business when it comes to our finances. And so I just wanted to recognize our team again for great work. It's not something that they just hand out. And I'm really proud of our team for getting this. And I think they're to be commended for that effort. So wanted to mention that. And Deanna, we'll go ahead and turn it over to you.
Thanks, Adam. That's good to know. All right, Deanna.
She doesn't want to play.
She's worn out.
She might need help being unmuted. There we go.
Okay. I'm unmuted now, so, and that's all right. I don't mind being muted every now and then. Hey, Mayor and City Council members, it is our pleasure. Our staff have worked really super hard. You know, Chad and I and Christina have worked diligently on this budget. The departments had turned in their budgets when the COVID-19 hit, and so we stopped. We pretty much pumped the brakes really hard, and we sent the budgets back out to all the departments. They had to redo their budgets, and we had to go through the process all over again. But I'm pretty excited with the document that we have, and thank you, Adam, for bringing up the Distinguished Budget Award. That's our very first year of getting the budget award, so it was quite exciting to receive that letter back in February. So the recommended 2021 budget is a combined total of all city departments of $302,961,978. And that's actually about a $50 million decrease from the current year's budget. There's a couple of reasons for the decrease. One is the replacement airport was about $15 million that overlapped into this current year that we're in, and that's dropping off the radar. We also canceled the City Hall expansion projects, and that was about $12.6 million. And so those couple of projects are not obviously in next year's budget. And so they account for about 30 something million or a little less than 30 million of the decrease. On the general fund side, the proposed budget is $70,212,000. And that's actually a decrease as well of 7.15 million. It's a little over a 9% decrease from the current year's budget. And that is not due to projects. It's actually due to the COVID-19 of having reduced revenues and cutting our expenditures in order to meet those reduced revenues. So it's a pretty significant cut. We did everything that we could. We are going to have to pull a little bit of money out of our appropriated fund balance in order to make that budget balance next year. But I am happy and very proud to say that our departments did everything that they could. And we're only pulling a little less than $200,000 out of our appropriated fund balance. It's less than 1/4% from our fund balance. And so, which is a really good sign. Hopefully when we turn the corner, we can have some budget openings and we can increase that budget a little bit. Just some other statistics. Let's see, I had that right in front of me and now I've lost it. As far as the composition of the budget, the general fund comprises about 23% of the $302,000 budget. The enterprise funds are about 51% and the capital project funds are about 21%. We have other funds that collectively are about 4%, and then the economic and development areas are about 1%. As far as personnel services, that's about 23%, materials and supplies 26%, and capital outlays about 31% total. In our general fund, our capital outlays do not account they account for about 6%. So that 30% in capital outlays is really our enterprise funds and predominantly the wastewater treatment plant, the projects that they have going on out there. The budget has been posted now to the city's website and also to the city eNet. We are asking, we are not proposing a increase in property tax. We are, however, including a couple of fee increases for our enterprise funds. The power department approached the city council last year and asked for a $1 per month per the residential base increase. Last year was year one, and we asked for a 5-year increase on that. So this is the second year of that $1 per month per base for residential customers. The water department is proposing a new water rate schedule that incorporates a pass-through of the 10 cents per 1,000 gallons on the water wholesale cost from the Conservancy District, but it also accomplishes what you, the mayor and city council, have asked for, is to kind of smooth out that water rate schedule. And so Scott will be presenting that during his budget presentation to you. And we are also asking for an increase in our sewer and wastewater, the local and regional fees from its $9.50 to $11.50 a month, or excuse me, $11.50 to $15.50 a month. It's a $3.50 increase. And that's really kind of in a nutshell. I don't want to take your whole evening, although I could. Again, the document is there. We're calling it the 311 because it's 311 pages, but there's also a lot of information in the appendix regarding our projects, regarding our transfers, and so forth. And the state law requires that we adopt the city budget by June 30th of each year. We're only required to do one public hearing. However, in the past, we've always done 2. And so we're asking that you approve that we set those public hearings for June 4th, and for June 18th will be the adoption of the final budget. And then we would do, as indicated by the mayor earlier in the discussion, we will be having work meetings with the mayor and city council to review all of the budgets with you. And so we're just asking for you to adopt the preliminary budget and set those council meetings.
Council, we're going to have lots of time to go over this starting next week, but any initial questions or comments, and then once we're through with that, we would need a motion to accept the preliminary budget and to set the public hearings as was stated by Deanna, for the public to comment, to be on June 4th and June, I think it was 18th.
Mm-hmm. Yes, the 18th.
So first, questions, comments, comments of praise for Deanna, because she deserves them, and all of our department heads. Go
Absolutely,
ahead.
because with this COVID, I can't imagine going in and having to slice and dice until we can get to what we can afford. And every year she does it. I don't know how she keeps going, but we're glad she sticks around and does it. Thanks, Dee.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're amazing. Thanks for putting a really pretty picture of a rainbow at the beginning so that I would be like lured into the budget. I like how you did that. Taken by Robert Hooper, it says, St. George Fire Department. That picture is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for the record, Deanna is a rock star, so thank you.
Thank
What
you.
What could you play or sing for us, Deanna?
I can sing the praises of the department heads and Chad Moultrie and Christina, but other than that, you just don't want to hear me sing. I can't hold a tune.
All right. I'll just mention one thing. Our employees are going to feel this, council. I think you're aware. And so we will want to make it up to them when we can, Adam. You know, we appreciate them, and we've worked hard to get them to the point where they're at. And so, council, we will not be taking raises in this fiscal year, and there will be. Adam might want to explain that. There's I believe some that some level of increase, but for the most part, they will not be getting the raises they would normally get. Is that correct, Adam?
We've actually removed all of those compensation increases from the budget. It's necessary. I really think our employees understand the situation that we're in. They understand that this is a time where everybody gives a little bit. And I really think for the most part, our employees are grateful to have employment and to be able to work for this organization and serve the community. And so we get it. I mean, we know that there are many in the community that have lost their jobs. And so no, it's expected, it's understood. And the fact that there will not be increases this year, that's okay. We're gonna be okay.
Well, I just want to thank everyone for being willing to do that, and agreed. This is what others are doing as well. But people shouldn't assume that because they're government workers that they have fewer needs than the average person. And so we appreciate our city team for all that they're doing. Any other comments from the council? And then I'd entertain a motion.
I'd just like to say, I've told the council and the mayor and Adam many times what a great leadership we have in each of our departments. And it's amazing because I came from as you saw earlier, a great leadership and great team of workers. And this is amazing to watch how well they work together and continue to make our city a great place. And I appreciate the great honor to get to be part of this. So yeah, the workers are amazing. They're friendly. They just go out and do their jobs, and it's awesome.
Thanks, Brian. Anyone ready to make a motion to accept the preliminary budget for the year 2020, 2021, and to set the public hearings for the public to comment on this budget, the preliminary budget for June 4th and June 18th?
So moved.
Greg makes the motion. Well, who seconded?
I will second.
Michelle seconds. Any discussion? Thank you. All in favor, starting with Michelle, say aye.
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
Danielle?
Aye.
Brian?
Aye.
And Jimmy?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. And again, thanks, Deanna, and everyone else involved, Adam, under your direction, and all of our department heads. Appreciate it. There's no way we can express it enough, but we'll dig into it starting next week.
Thank you.
All right, with that, just a reminder that we're going to skip item number 7 and we'll move to item number 8.
Can you hear me? This is Ray.
Yes.
Okay, good. Got a new laptop here and I want to make sure I'm doing this correctly. Item number 8, consider approval of an ordinance for a zone change amendment to Sun River Commons Commercial Center. It's a planned development commercial zone, and this request is to approve a credit union, which is generally located at the corner of Sun River Parkway and Arrowhead Canyon Drive. I've got 2 slides on here. The first one basically shows the corner behind the Hampton, and it shows where the credit union is proposed to go. Again, this is Arrowhead Canyon Drive, and then here's Sun River Parkway. And then down below on the second slide, you can see a rendering on the bottom of what's proposed, a single-story credit union. And then in your packet should be more elevations. I've just included 2 here to kind of show the looks of it and how it's articulated, and basically also the height. Maximum height to the ridge is 24'6", and as you know, we actually measure about the midpoint, so it's even less than that. It's a pretty simple presentation to you. It's a request for a zone change amendment to amend the existing planned development commercial zone for this specific project. It's about 0.87 acres. That's about 38,000 square foot site. I've shown you the location. And I had, during the planning commission, I had a couple people, neighbors, send letters and ask. I think they were wanting information and to understand it. And for the council, I haven't had any other inquiries. I feel that it's been received pretty well. The rest of the report is pretty brief, looks to meet and exceed the requirements that we'll look at when we go through the civil plan review. And the Planning Commission does recommend approval. And there are a couple of comments there under the Planning Commission. Honestly, most of them are just routine about the use fits, the site plan layout. They recommend approval of, and the colors and materials and the setbacks. And that concludes staff's comments.
Council, any questions? You know right where this is and does seem to fit in pretty well, but any questions for staff, first of all?
Oh, I'm good.
Let's see, just looking. Do we have anyone here representing the applicant that would like to say anything before we move forward one way or the other? I'll let you.
Eric Momberg is here online, so if you could unmute him.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Thank you, Eric.
All right. Well, thank you for having us. I'm with Anderson, Wallen and Associates. I'm the civil engineer on the project. I'm representing Golden West Credit Union. I believe we have Butch Campbell on the call or on the line as well. He's the vice president of facilities out there with Golden West Credit Union. We're just happy to be here, happy to be at the point where we're at. We appreciate the city's efforts in letting us, continue forward with this and all development out there in St. George. We're glad that these Zoom meetings are made available, and we appreciate Ray's efforts and all of the city's efforts on our behalf. So just wanted to let you guys know we appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Eric, council? Okay, if not, then I would entertain a motion to, if you're so inclined, to approve the ordinance for this zone change amendment to the Sun River Commons Commercial Centers, as has been presented regarding this Golden West Credit Union.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Brian, seconded by Michelle. Is that you, Michelle?
Yep.
Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none. All in favor, starting with Jimmy, say aye.
Aye.
Danielle?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
And Brian?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Looking forward to that. Thanks, Golden West. Number 9.
All right. All right, this is Dan here. This is to consider a general plan amendment for Southern Hills. The request is to change 11.13 acres from high density residential to medium density residential, and 0.4 acres from low density residential to commercial. The applicant is DSG Holdings LLC. Brett Burgess is the representative. I believe he's here tonight if you have questions for him. So on your screen, you should see the zoning map is currently zoned R110. The larger parcel outlined in blue is 11.13 acres. And taking a look at the land use map, you can see that that is currently planned for high density residential. You can also see down to the lower part of the map outlined in blue is low density residential, kind of a sliver piece, which would be combined with this commercial area to the east. So they're proposing to change those two from high density residential on the larger piece to
to low density resident, excuse me, to medium density residential, then the other one from low density residential to commercial. The Planning Commission heard this item and made a recommendation to approve. I should show you this. This also shows the zones that would coincide with those designations if this was to be approved. Planning Commission recommended approval. Again, the applicant is here if you have questions for him, and I'm happy to answer any questions as well.
So first of all, any questions from the council for Dan? Okay, and who is representing the applicant?
It's me, Mayor, it's me, Brett Burgess with Development Solutions.
Hi, Brett. Anything you'd like to say to the council on this?
You know, I think Daniel did a great job. I actually personally would like to at least address the council and you, Mayor, and staff, and just say thank you. You know, thank you for keeping us going. Thank you for keeping the city going. On behalf of SUBA, you know, it's been huge to have the construction industry still go and work forward. Every one of your staff members has been amazing to work with through all this. So on a personal note, and as president of SUBA this year, I want to thank you guys for keeping us going. It's been huge. I mean, I know restaurants and, you know, hospitality and some of that stuff have had to comply with state things. I appreciate you guys fighting to get us back open and things going while being safe. So thank you very much. I don't want to take a lot of time, but I definitely want to express my thank you.
Well, appreciate that, Brett. Thanks for all you do. And of course, we'll take the bad with the good. So if there's ever anything we can do, let us know.
Thank you. As far as the site goes, like I said, Daniel did a great job. This parcel, you know, when we came through with the initial overall general plan years ago, we thought that this parcel might make good sense to do some high density residential. As you guys have obviously approved and seen, we're getting to this point a lot faster than we thought we would. And so we've taken time to continue to plan in this specific area. We just felt that high density residential was probably going to be too dense of a project. You know, we start pushing 15 to up into 20 units per acre, which you're starting to stack units and get into kind of apartments and condos and things of that nature. And thought that, you know, kind of what's been working for us out there, that might be a little aggressive. So we were thinking that medium would fit better. You know, that can still allow a townhouse project. Some of the stuff we've been doing that's similar to the Bluffs and I guess Ed's been doing, I'm not a part of that, but the Bluffs and the Desert Hollows stuff. We do still, and we still plan on doing high density residential as we get closer to the industrial park to the north from here. We feel like that's probably a good buffer and should be a necessary buffer to go from industrial uses, probably like a lighter industrial use to a kind of a village center with higher densities and move on out. So that's kind of what we're doing. And then as far as the commercial, as we kind of planned everything out and our plats came to fruition, there was like a little sliver there. And inevitably, every time we have a sliver that's LDR, when we sell those lots, the people want to try to incorporate that in their lots, and it just was kind of unnecessary. So we figured we'd clean that up while we were here and try to get that into commercial as well.
Council, any questions for Brett on that? That makes sense.
It was getting real good till they said high density again.
I have a question, Brett.
Go ahead.
Can you answer just about the roadway? So if the interchange is not going to be coming through, can you explain what the plan is for the roadway there?
Yeah, we've been working with staff, with Wes and John on that. I know because right after this, I plan on bringing in some zone changes for sure to continue the process, just because we are at this point. We were working hard with them and you know, fire department to see what we needed to do to accommodate, you know, health, life, safety, that sort of thing. We figured with what I'm going to be bringing in, we're definitely going to need to, they said they've run the calcs and we'd either need to widen Crimson Ridge Drive over towards River Road where we have the connection and make it full width, or possibly get another connection. And right now our plan is when we come in to connect over to exit 6 of Desert Canyons. I've been working with Ed and Kurt to do a secondary access. I think even with marketing, it's going to make a lot more sense as we bring some of this medium density stuff in, to have a secondary access to market, those types of things. So that's the plan right now. And like I said, I guess assumed when we bring zone changes and have our units and unit counts and those types of things, that'll be, I'm sure, first on the list.
Any other questions, Danielle? Follow up?
Oh, I just was wondering also about the commercial. How soon are you going to start developing commercial on the north side of SR7?
I guess it definitely changes with the interchange. Commercial is definitely a product of demand. I have to separate a little bit because Desert Canes is Ed's and Southern Hills is obviously mine and my brother-in-law Ryan's. So Ed's trying some out there and he's had good interest. So we're kind of watching that for sure. Commercial, we love it. I actually have to commend Golden West and appreciate them investing in this south quadrant. I think it's going to help our trips per day on traffic. Even for our residents, it's going to help our residents with options to go to and not have to come all the way into town. I really appreciate it. I'm excited for Desert Color and what they're going to do. I think that we're going to definitely have to look at it. We've had interest. We've had people call and express interest out there. Not as much, obviously, for retail. We've had people that want to do storage and things of that nature. And I don't know, I don't know. Some of that's just dictated by demand. And so we personally, I like commercial. We feel like the stuff we've done at Desert Hills High School's responded well. We've had a lot of good feedback there. Part of our thought is, usually just like Darcy, we need to get a lot of rooftops in there to make that viable. I believe Darcy with Sun River is in the 1,600 units and he's on I-15, and the commercial's starting to get viable. So we would love it and love to get going as soon as we can, but we definitely have to play with demand. I definitely think if we were tied in into the Little Valley area, it would definitely help. But we got to start working that way and there's some things to do there. So I think as soon as market dictates, I would love to do commercial out that way.
Thanks, Brett.
Yeah, the bottom line is rooftops, isn't it, Brett?
It really is. Yeah. We, even Little Valley, I would love to do some stuff in Little Valley. And I hope that I just actually drove by Dave Willer's stuff on Little Valley Road. And I hope you get some stuff out there again to, I think it's great for the community to get village commercial, just to give people options so we don't have to cross the bridge. It's really going to help our traffic. I appreciate you guys working on the connection on 1450 to the west. I think it's obviously needed. Anybody that drives in town knows that that's a pinch point between the hills and the river and everything. So that's definitely one we need to open up, and I appreciate you guys kind of working on that. So
thank you. Any other questions, council, for Brett?
Yeah, question. This is for Brett or for just general knowledge. So this was slated for an on-ramp, off-ramp interchange for Interstate 7. What's the plan with that now? Will that come into the future, or is that dead?
I guess there definitely needs to be some talks there. It's definitely a large undertaking. We've talked to Adam and the city and property owners. Obviously, Ed and Kurt, we've talked to them a little bit, and we're starting down that road. It just, I don't know. It's been a challenge, I guess, to work through it. We definitely see and this is me speaking for me. I can't speak for Kurt or Ed. I don't know if you guys kind of know our businesses, but we've separated somewhat. But obviously I still talk to those guys daily. So we're quasi connected. Obviously he's my father. So I have, we talk all the time.
We were hoping that you're still talking.
But it's one of those things. We definitely are both pretty aggressive personalities. So it's fun for us to be able to work together, but also be a little bit separate. So we're working through that, I guess. We definitely would love to continue to talk with the city. we definitely see the need and some of the advantages to connecting to Little Valley. Obviously, we've been working out there and blessed to work out there and do some things that way. But I guess we just need to kind of continue talks. And I know that we're wanting to do that. We just kind of felt that at this point, an interchange it's a massive undertaking. We control the property, luckily, to tie us into exit 6 over there by Desert Canyons, where there's an already existing one. And we control the property to start working our way up to, I believe it's not Venture Drive, but into the Fort Pierce Industrial Park. So I believe we can get good access. We can always provide, health, life, safety, and provide for that. But the interchange is definitely one that we probably need to continue to noodle on a little bit.
So right now, our current access to this piece is over to River Road. Is that correct? That's the only access?
Yeah, correct. It's Crimson Ridge Drive. Yeah, that's the only access into it for sure.
So, the zoning was placed in place anticipating the interchange. With the interchange not there, it kind of doesn't make a lot of sense with the commercial, even medium density residentials, just not connected well. You have to go through the lower density neighborhoods to get to it. So it's a little tougher now there. But would you agree with that? Or, I mean, that's just a thought on that.
To do commercial or
no, the commercial zoning and the medium density residential zoning, it seems like that was put in place for the interchange. That's why that made sense at the time. Now it's at the end of it's just not as connected. So
yeah, I mean, UDOT still has the right of way. I mean, I believe that 20 years from now, an interchange will be there. I don't think that it's completely dead. I know that it's on the long-term UDOT plan. So I do think that someday it will come in. So I guess someday, in my opinion, this is still at general plan level. So I believe someday it will happen. I don't know, for us, we've been here for a long time and we plan to be here for a lot longer. So timing, I don't know, we want to do good planning for future. My kids are interested in developing, and I hope to continue in my footsteps if they want to. But I'm 40 and I still want to work till I'm 60 or 70. So I feel like it's still good planning to plan for it. Cause I don't think that in theory, the interchange is dead forever. I don't know that it's happening in the short term, but I still believe we can provide health, life, safety to get over to exit 5, and we have the ability to do that. So I can agree with you that, yeah, I think we could probably get out there and market sooner with the interchange. Whether putting $7.5 million into an interchange now and then trying to sell commercial property at, maybe $650 a foot works. I mean, that's some math we'd have to work on. So yeah, I mean, a lot of it's in future planning.
I think that there's a good point to that question, Greg. I think the thing we've just got to be careful about is, our plans, to try to link Little Valley by an extension of 3000 East, essentially, to come and hook on to State Route 7, the Southern Parkway, through an interchange, this interchange or the proposed one at that time. I think that in a perfect world would have been very nice and given good access to all of this property. But so I don't know, Adam, what the kind of proper timing of all this is. And but I do think it's a good point to bring up.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different factors there. Timing's the biggest one. Obviously, the funding is another. And we had gone through the process, as was alluded to, of trying to determine what portion would be the cities, what portion would be the developers, and I think we worked that out. I don't know if there was total agreement there, but I think we were pretty close. And really, it just comes down to timing and. Yeah, being able to get it funded.
The one thing I wouldn't want to do is create a real mess with traffic by letting stuff develop too soon without viable connections. And that's what concerns me, and I suppose it's what concerns Greg. Just because, there's a lot of property there. So I just think we're going to have to be mindful of that going forward, Brett.
Sure. Yeah, I understand. Yeah,
And,
we'd
and
love
I
to.
would want to clarify, because we've agreed, sorry, Brett, we have agreed with quality that, or I should say the developer, that the roads that are existing right now do adequately serve the development. I wouldn't want Brett to leave here thinking that we've gone back on that conversation that we've had. In fact, this was an item that we spent a lot of time on, saying, hey, do you have adequate secondary access? And based on the analysis performed by our city engineer, we feel like they do meet the ordinance. I think the comments are, right on, that we've got to keep an eye on this and make sure that it doesn't get out of hand, because a lot of our growth is out there. And, so I think it's just going to be an item that kind of hangs out until we're ready, and then we've got to jump on it when we have the chance.
Yeah, and if I can add, part of our just talk and question and working with staff is just, kind of making sure that we're still in alignment with trips per day. I know that, and drove through there today, Desert Color has quite a few units off their single access. I know DeBarrio does. And so I know that there's calcs to look at that and what's kind of allowed on single accesses and how to develop that. So with our traffic studies and everything we do, we'd love to continue to work with you guys, staff. And I would love to continue talks and see what we can do on the Interchange 5. I need to get, Ed and Kurt. I thought I saw Kurt on here a minute ago, but I'd love to continue talks with those guys, because again, yeah, it's like Kurt's there. So we need to maybe sit down and continue that. Like I said, I don't know, again, just to kind of explain a little bit. So mine and my brother-in-law's property is basically from this, it's kind of our line in the sand, we'll give you, if you will, basically where Interchange 5 would be, to River Road, and then basically up to Sunrock's old pit. We actually own their old pit as well with what we acquired from Sitla. And so we do have a common property line there, but I can't speak for Kurt and Ed on some of those issues. I can only speak on the other side of the street. It's kind of even agreement I have with Ed. We definitely like to keep our own things and work through our issues as we see fit. So individually.
Appreciate that. And I think, we just want to make sure that it's well planned. We've had some parts of the city as they've grown quickly that have been better addressed than others. So I just think we want to make sure we do it well. And especially when, you consider our city is 90,000-ish now. And when you look at the property that you and Ed and Desert Color and Sitla, whatever is remaining, I mean, really, you're it. And we're probably going to have, we could have another, depending on how dense it is, we could end up with another 60 to 80,000 people living out there. So I just want to make sure we do it well. And I know that's what the council wants to do. So anyway, I don't want to belabor it either. So.
Oh no, and if I can add, Mayor, we definitely understand and we feel similar responsibility. We feel a lot of responsibility to our buyers, to our community members, because we feel, I know, like we mentioned in the past, we definitely feel like this is a partnership with the community. We've been blessed, obviously, and we want to continue to build Southern Utah and let people enjoy it. I've enjoyed it my entire life. I always have to brag that I'm a 7th generation here, and I hope to be 7 more. I love Southern Utah. So we don't take the planning lightly. We want to continue to definitely work. We want to, make sure that what we do is fair with other developers around, and we're kind of all being treated fairly. So that's just kind of another thought or question, but we definitely want to continue to work, and I'd love to continue to entertain those talks. I know, and I don't want to say anything more, but I know that COVID kind of threw us all for a loop, because we were talking about this stuff kind of before it, and then even the home builders. I've been pulled in, and had to work on some stuff there the last couple of months, and just trying to make sure we redid practices and stuff. So I don't want to get off on that too much, but I'd love to continue talks and we can start working and planning in this area.
Right. And you know, there's a balance to be had in terms of finding the right timing, you know, absolutely. And depending on who's paying for it, right? I mean, that's the bottom line, is who's going to pay for it and how, you know, how is that justified, and how do you do it? On the one hand, I don't see costs going down much in the future, and yet it's a challenge to pay for things right now. So anyway, just know that I think our door is always open to having those discussions, Brett.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate it. Thank you, Council. Yeah, I appreciate it. I hope, and obviously if there's any other questions, I'm here, but I thank you and whatever you need.
Okay. Council, if there are no other questions, I'd be ready for your action if you're so inclined on item number 9. It's a general plan.
We talked so long about it, we forgot what we were talking about.
I know.
I'll go ahead, Mayor, and make a motion that we approve the ordinance changing the general plan land use as described. How's that?
Good.
Second.
Have a motion by Jimmy and a second by Michelle. Any discussion? Good discussion so far. Then all in favor, starting with Michelle, say aye.
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
Brian?
Aye.
Jimmy?
Aye.
And Danielle?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, and we'll see you for the next step, I'm sure, at some point, Brett.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. Thank you all very much.
You bet. Number 10.
Okay, item number 10. Yeah, we're going to move down the street just a little ways. It's to consider approval of an ordinance establishing land use designations on recently annexed property located southeast of Southern Parkway, interchange number 7. Approval of the amendment would establish the property as a mix of low density residential, medium density residential, and floodplain land uses. You can see on this property that on this slide, that when the property was annexed late last year, it automatically was zoned A20. So if the property owner wants to do anything besides 20-acre lots, they need to establish some sort of land uses on the property and amend the general plan. You can see this lower slide shows that there are no established land uses on the property. And so that's what they're requesting to do today. So their proposal, I'm gonna skip over this and go to here. This is what they're proposing. We can see that on the property adjacent to this, to the west, they are entitled to residential zoning. So they have R112, and then they have the PD Desert Canyons, which is also to the west and to the north. You have the Fort Pierce Wash, which comes kind of at a diagonal on the northeast portion of the property. So they're proposing to kind of continue that low density to the east on that lower southwest portion of the property. And then the majority of the rest of it would be medium density residential. You can see this at the bottom what designations, zoning designations coincide with those general plan designations. There are some, there's floodplain and hillside issues on the property. This is the floodplain in blue, and then you can see the hillside. So they'd be subject to those reviews as well. My understanding is that some of this floodplain has been kind of tightened up into the closer to the wash, so it may not be quite that wide, but that hillside area remains the same, and like I say, that will be in effect as well. So again, this is what they're proposing. Again, the low density in that southern southwest corner and the medium density on the rest of it, with the exception of that approximately 20 acres of floodplain The Planning Commission heard this request, and again, they recommended approval. If you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer those.
Council, any questions for Dan?
I have one.
Yeah.
Dan, is this, as far as the rooftops that will end up out here, are they considered part of Desert Canyon, like the number of approved rooftops for Desert Canyon?
No, my understanding is that they don't have any intention to combine it with Desert Canyon. It would be its own separate thing. The applicant is here and he can verify that for you, but that's my understanding.
Okay.
Any other questions? And then we'll let the applicant address that question and anything else he'd like to address.
I'll hold out. I'll let the applicant.
Okay.
Hey, Mayor, so just to answer Councilwoman Larkin's question, this is adjacent to Desert Canyons, but is not part of the Desert Canyons master plan.
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant, for Kurt Gordon, Council? Kurt, anything you'd like to say in addition to what Dan already said?
I think Dan did a good job. We've been working on this for quite a while and would appreciate your support. I think it's going to be a nice addition to the city, and we'd just like to ask for your sustaining vote on it. Thanks.
Okay. Council, any further discussion or questions?
I have another question for Kurt. Kurt, will the connection be made over to the airport before homes start being built here, or after, or what's the plan? Is everybody that is in this space going to have to exit through Desert Canyons Parkway?
Our plan, so if you can see the black kind of snaky line that's kind of at the top right there, that is a planned connection between interchange number 6 and interchange number 7. And we will build that road as we develop, so that when we come in for zoning, you'll see a proposal to include a crossing across the Fort Pierce Wash. So to answer your question, it will be built as things develop out there. So for a time, people will have to go to Desert Canyons Parkway, but eventually within a few years, you'll see a connection up to interchange number 7.
Okay. And then can you give us an idea of how many homes would be built in that medium density residential space? Are you anticipating leaving a lot of open space through there?
There will be some open space because there's a little bit of a hillside that we'll have to preserve according to the ordinance. I would imagine you're probably see in the neighborhood of 500 to 600 homes in that area. Just off the top of my head, we haven't got it laid out or a detailed plan on it yet, but that would be approximately my guess.
We go back to slide 2.
There we go.
Just because I'm uneducated on this kind of stuff, but shows the floodplain and then a small floodplain there coming from the bottom of the photo. Why does it just stop there and not continue into that area?
Good question.
So do you want to take that, Dan, or do you want me to answer that?
I don't know the history behind it. You may have a little more information than I do.
I think that so our floodplain mapping is done by FEMA working with the states. That floodplain area that you see on the bottom of the screen is in Arizona. So I'm not quite sure why they've mapped that as floodplain. There is a wash that extends up into that piece that we'll have to deal with, but I don't know why they mapped it that way. It's an Arizona thing.
Well, and I think my concern is that if we just push dirt and fill that, we're still going to get the water come in from there and it's going to go somewhere. So
Sure, yeah,
yeah, we won't do that. We understand that that's a drainage. It'll stay a drainage on our plans, and we will accommodate that, the flows that come through there for sure.
Thank you.
I have a question for staff and then a comment. So do we have any other instance where we've approved medium density residential in over 170 acres?
This is John. Yeah, we have. If you look at areas like Hidden Valley, I don't know what the exact acreage is, but Hidden Valley is probably a good example where the large portion of it is medium density residential. But if you look at how they divided the property, it has a mixture of townhouses, single family. It has a real mixture. And so there have been a couple instances where we have designated this much property as MDR.
Okay. I guess my comment would be just, I know we approved mass grading over this to alleviate the wash and move a lot of dirt. It's a really pretty area. My thought is medium density residential, 170 acres, that's huge. I'd rather see it come in smaller chunks. So I don't know if a PDR or something over this. I just have concerns approving medium density residential that large in that area.
I think as staff, when you're looking at this much acreage in MDR, I think we'd recommend a PDR with the varying types of different product types spread throughout the area. Typically 100 acres, you're not going to see a max density over this much acreage. If I recall, Hidden Valley, they're just under, they're like 5.8, 5.9 units an acre. And so typically this large, this amount of property, you're not going to see a density all the way up to the max MDR. Usually it's going to be on the lower range just because of the amount of acres there is.
And we'll still have the chance to do that because this is general plan at this point, right?
That is correct. And so when you do look at the zoning on it, you will have that range and you can determine what the appropriate density is throughout the development during that zone change process.
Okay. Just thoughts, I'm just throwing out thoughts of mine that I see as I go out there. It seems like our Interstate 7 area is, we're moving a lot of it's going to the higher density. And it just seems like most of the new stuff seems like we're just going high density to high density, high density. I'd like to see more of a mix out there as we make plans. Those are just thoughts of mine.
I think there's a pretty good mix actually in Desert Canyon, but I don't know, maybe the applicant could speak to that just a little bit.
Sure, Mayor, thank you. So that on the general plan level, just to speak to other projects that have been approved, there's Little Valley, there's also Desert Color that was approved. There's other developments in St. George that were approved, the lakes, for example. So it's not uncommon, I don't think, for the city to approve an area of this size in the general plan. There will be, just because of the topography, there will be a necessity to build different types of units. I think that one of the things that we've stressed when we talk about high density, I think we need to be on the same page as what is high density. We don't have any attached product at Desert Canyons. All of it is actually single family. And so it falls within the medium density category in all the city's planning criteria. So I guess that's a perception, but there will be a mixture of housing types ranging from what we've done at Desert Bluff and Desert Hollow to what we've done up on Desert Point, so larger units. So we will have a mix of different types of housing.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? All right. I'd entertain a motion if you're so inclined, council.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve an ordinance establishing land use designations on recently annexed property located southeast of the Southern Parkway Interchange 7 with the amendment and the amendment would establish the property as a mix of low density residential, medium density residential, and floodplain land uses.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Michelle with a second by Brian. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all in favor, starting with Jimmy, say aye.
Aye.
And let's see, Danielle,
Aye.
Brian,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
and Michelle.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Kurt.
Thanks, Mayor. Thanks, council.
Thanks to our staff for working together with Kurt and their team.
And Greg, we never should miss an opportunity to keep reminding them of what you said. So that's something that doesn't ever hurt, to be able to make sure and they've been good, usually try to listen to what we're saying when we say, hey, don't lean towards too much on the high density. So thanks for saying that.
High density for Jimmy. What does that mean, Jimmy?
I like the 20 acres that they said it was at when it originally came in. That was awesome.
Pretty good, huh?
Yeah.
All right, very good. Let's see, item number 11.
Okay. There you go. Okay, item number 11 is a request to approve a preliminary plat for a 6-lot residential subdivision called Monte Vista Estates. The site is located at the southeast corner of an intersection of 3210 East and 2000 South. The density is 1.07 dwelling units an acre. The zoning is RE 37.5. General plan is low LDR, low density residential, representative civil science. So here's where the development is. You saw a recent zone change from A1 to RE 37 right here. Here's 2000 South, 3210 East is right here. Here is the preliminary plat. So they're requesting 6 lots. They are requesting lot size averaging. 3 of the lots would be less than the RE 37.5 and 3 of them would be greater, which the ordinance allows up to 50% to be less than the requirement on the minimum lot size. This 2000 South is a major collector. Obviously, it leads over to the high school and middle school. These lots that front here onto 3210 would be required to have circular drives as they front that major collector street. You can see they will be, here's the cross section there. You can see that they will be doing sidewalk, curb, gutter, and pavement along their portion of 2000 South. And then on 3210, again, they're showing the rural cross section, which would have pavement, some shoulders, borrow ditches, and then a trail over here on the west side. This is the church property here, Rocky Mountain Community Church. When they developed, they left out this portion of their lot right here. And we did an agreement with them that at such time as they either develop that property or the city needs this portion of the 3210 constructed, that then the church would be responsible to construct that road. And so we'll have to get with them and notify them that the time has come to finish their part of 3210 so that it's at least built down to here.
So Jimmy, is this another link in the chain for the 2000?
Yep. Right, Jimmy?
Yeah, it is. This is just, so there's already curb and gutter in front of the church. And then this will link that. And then I have been in discussion with the property owners to the west that are doing that subdivision now about what their phasing plan is there. And how we can maybe get their phasing arranged so that they can do the curb and gutter all the way to 3000. So then we would basically have 3 property owners to deal with to get to where the curb and gutter starts for the schools.
Blake and the Whitwer, and then the one other.
Yeah, and I apologize, I don't know their name. They're newer. They have their house for sale.
Yep.
So I just know the other two guys because I grew up with them, but well, I've been working on growing up with them. I haven't got.
That sounds like that comment came from Tawny.
Yeah. Is the house staying there? The Dean
Yes,
Matthews?
this is the existing home. You can see they're showing here that they meet the setbacks for it. So yeah, this house, this lot will have that house, existing house already on it. Yeah.
Any comments or concerns, Jimmy?
Just in relation to this and the general area down there of what our expectations moving forward are on some of the other pieces of property as zone change requests come in as far as minimum lot size. I think we ought to have that, make sure we are on the same page with that so we don't put Wes on the spot of trying to deal with angry developers who are saying, I want to do condos there. And then we say, yeah, let them do condos when if we're not in agreement of what we're trying to accomplish down here. So that's in relation, I guess, to the whole area. This is 37.5, so that's what, 3/4 acre.
Right.
And so are we going to be are we holding at that, or are we saying that, if you come in for a 1/2 acre, we're okay? Or are we just going to be going, oh well, whatever? It just depends on the person.
You can see right here, here's the RE 37.5, here's the church, and then that's that development that was recently, the preliminary plat was recently approved. It's R110, and then here on the east side has remained A1 on the east side of 3210.
And north side, is that north? Yeah, north side from the subdivision. Yeah, that's all A1 is correct?
Except for this RE 12.5, that Erdley zone right here. But yeah, on that east side, it's all A1 all the way to the north.
And Erdley's had theirs done a long time ago.
Yeah, they had that done in the early 2000s, I think, something like that.
Yeah. And the R110, that was already there.
The only piece that was added was this little piece right here. This was already zoned R110. Again, I think it was done in the early 2000s. And the only addition recently was just this piece right here south of the church.
Which made sense because it completed that whole block.
Right.
So I guess that's my only thing is this particular project I don't have a problem with is, yeah, I'd like to see it all stay all one lot, but it kind of fits in with what's there. But if you were to go much smaller than that, I don't think it fits in there, but that's just me.
No, that's in keeping with what we've been saying for the last, 8 years, Jimmy?
Yeah. And I don't know if the magic number is 37.5 or if it's a 1/2 acre.
Well, we know if it's a 1/2 acre, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to have any ag component, right? We've learned that.
And maybe 37.5 won't either.
Right.
But at least you're moving in there knowing what you're getting into.
They also said in the chat that they were remodeling the house.
Yeah. Thanks, Michelle. Yeah.
What's that?
They said they're remodeling the house that's currently there.
Hopefully the outside too.
It just needs paint. It's cute.
Needs
Hey,
to
Yes, they're remodeling the outside too.
Okay.
Hey, Jimmy, can I ask, so as we talk about this, has there been a designated, is there an area that we can look at specifically that's outlined in regards to what you're talking about that is the ag space that we need to have stay the ag space? Is that really
Yeah.
all of it that's left.
Yeah. The loose boundary is obviously the city boundary to the east, which is Washington City, which is not too far from here. And then Temple Street, for lack of a better way to say it, 2000.
right?
Or 3000, sorry. Although there's still a huge piece of property, the Cox property on the other side of 2000, but I'm assuming that's
Just mentioned it. Okay.
that's asking too much. Yeah, right there.
And then where does it go to the south?
And south is basically the canal road or
where Webbs live.
yeah, kind of along that road.
Okay.
Because obviously south of there, we've already, we have up to 8,000 square foot lots there. So it was kind of like, okay, we're okay with the 8,000 over here, but it's a give and take, kind of like what Greg was saying. Everything doesn't need to be high density. So let's stay over here. Let's try to maintain some semblance of ag properties for those who may want it.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I understood the boundaries.
Yeah, and then if you look on the map, it's kind of the area that's green. If you look on a map, because there's a few, fields and stuff there. So,
well, you know what? I can tell you guys. So we just sold our house, and we live on an A1 property. We sold it during the pandemic. We put it on the market on a Friday. We showed it 13 times on Saturday. By Monday, we had 6 bids. Full price bids. I'm just saying, I think that people think that ag property doesn't sell, or, developers are feeling like there's not people that want it. And it would be really interesting for us to know how many people do want it, because I think there are still people, obviously, just by, I know that's anecdotal, but it's just one example of how fast ag property is selling right now. In our city. So it's something for us to talk about and to look at. And, so we have this one little square out in Little Valley. Is it possible for us, as we're expanding? I understand what Greg was saying. I don't think, and I hope that the developers understood what Greg was saying too. I hope there wasn't any idea that we are negative about high density housing. High density housing is absolutely necessary, and I don't think we're negative about it at all. But ag property is absolutely necessary also. And I think what we really should be pushing is a good mix. And I feel like Greg's comment about, that huge property being medium density residential, we really do want to see a healthy mix throughout the city, including ag property. We need to maintain ag properties, not just right here, but in different spaces throughout the city. And we need effective high density housing throughout the city. So I just feel like we need to keep pushing back on these spaces that are one big massive amount of just medium density, covering up our ag, covering up our high density, covering up our commercial. In my opinion, I feel like that's something that we need to just keep working towards, so that we end up with a healthier mix, and not just this one ag space, but hopefully some healthy ag spaces throughout the city.
I don't know where it is, Danielle. It's not in Davario. It's not in Desert Color. We're running out of space. So that's why.
Desert Color did apply for a community garden.
Great.
This is the spot.
Yeah, this is the spot. I agree with Jimmy, and I agree with what you're saying too, Danielle. I just think the reality of it is we don't have a lot left. So we will have to protect it. I'm not sure how much, A1, density there's going to, or designations there are going to be outside of this area. But I do think as we looked at this, as we looked at the images, as Jimmy pointed out, this was a green area. It's been farmed. It's been, for a long time. And so I do think for this council, at least, I think it's important for us to know and to try to at least respect what has been said previously. You can't bind the hands of future councils, but this is really a key area, and I do think we need to be careful and do it right. So
yeah, I hope you don't think that I'm not pushing back about this area not being ag.
No, I realize that. Yeah.
Okay.
Just to jump in on it, if that's okay.
Is the South Road 2450? Is that kind of what we're thinking as far as going south with this?
It's a little bit further south of 2450.
Or you going down to the Seg Miller Road where the pipe and the canal are, where the irrigation and the storm drain are.
Yep. And I think some of that's already being developed that way. I don't know. It looks like there's a house or something being built off of 2450.
Yeah, there is down there on property Chuck Spilker used to own.
Yes.
Look at that zone change.
Are they, what are they requesting the zone to be changed to there? Or are they?
R18 on the south.
The Webb property, they have come in on a zone change application.
Well, they're not, again, that's not in harmony with what we've said, so.
You're talking south of the canal road?
Yeah, you know, the property Jay Webb owned.
Oh, okay, that might, I mean, I'm not in favor of R18, but that is south of our, kind of our imaginary
It
boundary.
is. It's south of that Seg Miller Road, or,
Right.
you know, what I call the Seg Miller Road.
It's right on the border, isn't it,
It's
Jimmy?
right on the border,
It's right
and
on
so
the-
that's the question is, yeah.
It's right on the border, but I think there needs to be some transition.
Yes, because you have Jared Whitwer's feedlot there, as well as Jay Webb's, as well as Ron Thompson
Right,
and the Akin property,
right.
which all can be, there's still somewhat of an ag component in some of that. So if there does need to be a transition of some sort before we just go abruptly into 8,000 square feet.
Yep.
So why don't you and Danielle, Jimmy, or you and Greg, or whoever, sit down with John and Wes and figure that out once and for all? Because I don't know how many times we've had this discussion, and say, so that when a builder comes in and says, we're thinking R18 here, they can go, you can try, but there's no way the council's going to give it to you. I mean, this council anyway.
Yeah, if there's anything that's not so designated, let's, under general plan and zoning, let's know where they are. And if it's anything that we need to do to designate it, let's do it. I agree.
But it all sits as ag right now, so everybody needs to come in, not ag, but the really low density. So people do need to come in and change it. But if we want to make it set in a certain way, we should go set it in that certain way, and that's what it is now. So they, because they do have to come in and change it as of right now.
Well, yeah, and what that does is when you get a developer that comes in, which is already happening, and then gets all over John and Wes because they want to build townhomes next to the high school or whatever it is. I'm not saying that's what they want to do, but just as an example, I mean, they say no, but what can we get? Well, we don't know. We just know we don't want that high a density. So I think some direction on that would be good. And maybe it's 37.5.
I think what we could do is do a land use designation to rural residential, which it falls right in line with the zoning that we've discussed. The struggle we have now is the land use designation is low density residential, which supports up to R18. Now, if we actually had it all, general plan land use designation in line with what the council's vision is, then we wouldn't have to constantly, set the expectation for the developers.
Plus, it helps the planning commission as they hear these cases.
Correct.
That's a good point.
Well, so let's do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'd be smart. I think we've talked about it. I think that's a good thing we should do.
We'll
Absolutely.
work on that.
Okay.
Can I make a comment on our last, just the previous item that we voted
No,
on?
we passed it.
Well, Danielle kind of brought it back up. So, we can let it go if we want, but let me just,
I'm
I
not
am-
the mayor. I can't tell you what to do.
Mayor, you can shut me down if you want. Just the quick item was, I'm not anti high density residential, not at all. It's just if we look at that medium density residential zone and you place it over the previous things that have been done out there, it's as big as what's been done, but what's been done out there has been a great mixed use. So there is a great mixed use, but the next portion, which is, just as big, that 170 acres is now all medium density residential. So I'd just like to see a better mix. Maybe I should have said that then, but.
No, it's fine. It's not zoned yet, Greg. So that's the thing. We'll get another crack at it.
All right.
We still have time.
I think I'm getting a bad rep for being anti-high density, but I'm not. I'm for it. I just want good planning.
You're right.
You get a bad rap no matter what you do, Greg.
True.
Okay, where are we? I think we're in Little Valley.
Yeah, let's take care of this one.
Yeah, do I have a
Get
motion?
it done.
Yeah. So
So moved.
You move, Michelle?
Huh?
You make the motion, Michelle?
Sure.
And Jimmy seconded it?
sure.
All right. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, starting with Jimmy, say aye.
Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
Brian?
Aye.
Danielle?
Aye.
Boy, okay, that carries. Good discussion though, and thank you. And I know we had the applicant on. Thanks for making the comment of the remodel. Look forward to seeing this developed, and I think it is in harmony, just barely, with what we're trying to do. So anyway, thanks everybody. Let's see, we're not doing item 12, correct, Adam?
That's right.
So item 13, I would like to do one, I'd like to nominate one person to fill a seat on the St. George area, St. George Housing Authority board that Jimmy sits on. And I'd like to nominate Kenny Miller. I think most of you probably know who he is. I've talked with him. He's agreed to sit on that board, said he'd be honored. Jimmy, let me turn it to you for any comments you would make, and then perhaps a motion.
Yeah, I just, we have an even number of board members, and so we decided we needed to add a board member just to help us avoid, any ties if we can. And one of the thought processes is obviously with housing, somebody in the banking business would be good. And so we thought about Kenny, and he's accepted according to the mayor. So this will be a good addition. The Housing Authority, kind of has been off and on over the years, as some of you from the past may know, but it's doing really well. And there's a lot of desire by the board to maybe move forward with some other projects and some other things that the Housing Authority probably should be doing, rather than just be maintaining the status quo, if you would. So bringing Kenny on, I think, will help with that. And so I'm happy to nominate, or to make a motion that we approve the mayor's nomination of Kenny Miller for the St. George Housing Authority.
Kenny's the best person we can find.
Yeah, sometimes we have to go to the bottom of the barrel.
I'll second.
I'll go for it then.
Okay, well then Jimmy makes the motion, Danielle seconds it, and Brian adds a little color commentary. Any discussion on the motion?
Just that I love Kenny Miller. He's one of my favorite people in town. And you know what? That guy will bend over backwards to do anything for anyone. So Jimmy, you guys won't even have to do anything on the Housing Authority anymore. Just tell him what's wrong, and he'll stay up all night fixing it. So good choice.
I agree. I like Kenny.
Well, perfect. That's a good board, and they've got a good manager in Mike Barbin.
Yes.
As Jimmy said, it's really done well since we hired Mike, and a really good board, paying close attention. I think, is Greg Whitehead the chairman?
Yes, he's the chairman now. Yeah.
So Greg MacArthur, you might know him a little bit.
Pretty well.
Yeah. So all in favor of this motion, starting with Michelle, say aye.
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
Danielle?
Aye.
Jimmy?
Aye.
And Brian?
Aye.
Okay, I'm going to text him saying that you are a reluctant aye.
Vote against him, Brian. Do it, just so we can tell him.
All right, that motion carries. Thank you, everybody.
Send his mom over to my house, and I don't need that.
We're just trying to get the, what do you call that, lapidary program going again at the rec center, so Eileen Hacker will be happy with us all. So.
Please.
And I love his mom too. I didn't mean to say that.
We love her too.
She's awesome.
Mother-in-law.
No, his mom. His mother.
Yeah, if you know his mom, you love her too.
Yeah. Both of them. I love both of them. So.
Yeah.
Okay. Any reports we have from the group, just keeping in mind, we do need to go to a closed session if possible, council, to discuss 2 items. But first, any reports from any of you, starting with Michelle? Any reports?
No.
Gregory?
Nothing. Nope. Nothing to report.
Okay. Danielle?
I'll just highlight that it's bike month. That's why I'm wearing this Liliana shirt. So, and the city just started it's bike SOUT. So like Southern Utah, bikesout.org, a website you can go to and get updates on like the movies that are going to be out and some of the bike month stuff that's happening. So check that out.
Cool. The missing link, they're trying to get that bike path done, that connection done. I don't know if they'll make it this month, but they're working hard on it. We are going to do, Mayor Nielsen and I are going to do a little photo shoot there tomorrow where the trail meets with Washington City. It's an existing trail actually, but we're going to do that tomorrow. And
you should do like a sumo wrestling thing where you stay on your side and he stays on his side. And
well, we're both going to be on bikes, I think, but we'll see what.
Okay.
Yeah, but anyway, I think I'm heading into Washington and he's heading into St. George, and maybe we'll crash as we hit the line. But anyway, we hope at some point soon to be opening that trail. It's going to be wonderful. So, see, Danielle, anything else?
no.
Jimmy, anything?
No, I don't have anything else. I'm sorry I missed the General Burton call. I would just say again, we've got to get going as much as we can. Other than that, I have nothing else.
Jimmy, I'm not sure what all you heard us say after, but I think that we're going to be granted yellow status by tomorrow sometime.
Okay.
Not sure, but the governor did call me just prior to city council meeting and talk through a couple things, and so did General Burton last night. So anyway, I appreciate that they're listening. They're really trying, and they're willing to, and I told him we're willing to work together to try to change the focus to make sure we're protecting the people that need it the most and educate people that really need to know. So I sense we're going to need to start focusing more on those kinds of efforts as a city and not just sort of let the state do it. I think we're going to have to step up, and Adam and I talked about it a little bit this afternoon. So we'll try to get that figured out going forward here soon, and work with you closely on that, and with David Cordero and others in the health department locally. I think it's going to sort of take all hands on deck, not just state, but locally to do that, and to make sure that, just to make sure that we're addressing the needs of those that need it the most, especially if we get into more of a surge at some point. We know we're not there now, and that's good. So anyway, let's watch. Like I said, we'll let everyone know as soon as we hear something. Jimmy, I will just say this. He was, Brian knows him, of course, but he was really, really nice to talk to. And both he and the governor said, and, this kind of surprised me a little bit. They said, hey, just call us, just call us. I mean, I've been working through Dr. Blodgett, and I've been working through the deputy chief of staff at the governor's office and the lieutenant governor. And he said, hey, General Burton just said, hey, pick up the phone, call me, text me. I'll come to your city council meetings, whatever you need. And so I appreciated that. I think in the throes of, all the fury over all this, because it's been crazy, right? We've talked about it. A day seems like a week, and a week seems like a month, and a month seems like a year, whatever. You think about it. It's all since March 11th, basically. It's been not even quite 2 months, and it feels like forever. So I hope we can get there, Jimmy and everybody, and I think we will. I definitely felt a door open today, and so I really appreciate that. And Brian, you get the MVP award. Thanks for reaching out to the general yesterday. That was really cool.
Yep.
It's
didn't
nice
want
to
to do
be
it too
people in
early.
my places.
Good job, Brian.
Yeah, that was really fun. It was funnest to hear the St. George News reporter say, who'd you meet with from St. George area? And he said, well, I just talked to Brian Smethurst from St. George City Council. And I'm like, I better call Brian. So anyway, that was good. Brian, anything else to report? Anything else you want to tell us about that conversation?
He was really receptive, and he, I believe in my heart that he's trying to help everybody. And I think it's hard enough for us to run the city. I can't imagine, dealing with the entire state. And he's good. He has done that with the military. He led over 5,000 of us every year, sending us over to Afghanistan. And so he understands the pressures, but he's a good man to work with, and he'll listen to us, and he did. So
Yeah, I really appreciate it. He's the one that told Brian, hey, resubmit your letter. And I was like, well, we already submitted it. And he goes, no, send it again, change the date. We did that in 5 minutes, and Dr. Blodgett in 5 minutes sent it up. And that was, when the call, that was yesterday. So, I think they're trying. They really are trying. We just need to, I think we probably need to take some more steps on our own in terms of what we're going to do in the future. And it's not about what we're going to open or close. It's how we're going to support other people that really need it. So we'll work on that.
And then I see they shut the water off to the falls out to Gunlock. So that should take away some of the
I think
issue.
that's a brilliant move.
Yep. We talked about it last night at the Water District Board. So, yep. Did I
And
already?
people are saying, I was disappointed that the media was saying it's because people weren't social distancing. And I get that there was a crowd of people, but social distancing, I was least concerned about social distancing and more about the wreckage that was taking place up there.
Yeah, thanks to you and Danielle for cleaning up, and anyone else. That was a really nice thing to do. And I saw pictures. Thanks, Danielle. I don't think they ended up using those particular ones, but I appreciate you sending them on. That's pretty disgusting, actually.
I have a few more injuries of the falls jumpers now, though.
I hope they don't jump now. Michelle, did I ask you already?
You did.
Okay. Adam, anything else, general nature?
No, just to note that we do have administrative reports ready for you. I'll email that out later this evening.
Okay. All right. Now, if you're so inclined, council, and I hope you are, even though we're probably all tired, we do need to talk about two issues, a property potential property sale issue, and a personnel issue.
Yep.
If someone's so inclined to make that kind of a motion. And then do we need to go to a different Zoom call for this?
We do. That's an entirely separate Zoom meeting.
Okay, so council, you'll have to go into your email. Christina sent us a separate email with a separate link. So first,
We take like 3 minutes before we get on the next Zoom call.
Yes, I thank you.
2 minutes.
Two.
Three.
I'm teasing.
So here we go. Can we just keep our 3 minutes to 10 minutes, please?
Make a motion to close this meeting.
For those reasons, right, Brian? Those
Yes.
two. Okay.
Seconded.
Okay, Brian makes the motion. Michelle seconds. Any discussion? All in favor, starting with Greg, say aye.
Aye.
Danielle,
Aye.
Jimmy,
Aye.
Brian,
Aye.
and Michelle.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. So we'll take a quick recess, and within 3 minutes, we'll all be back on the other Zoom. Thanks,
Okay.
everybody.